Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, however, wherever, whenever you're listening. This is the Rupert, Wisconsin Show, episode 162, coming at you from the Riverwood Gallery Studio in De Pere, Wisconsin. I'm host, producer Eric Fisher, the Big E. Joining me this week, we've got Dylan Tritt. Dylan, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Pretty jam-packed show. We had to skip last week, mostly due to the fact that I talked too much and my voice is basically gone. Between the day job and all the high school sporting action I've been doing, yeah, the old voice box was pretty stretched thin. So
That's what you get for
now.
What you get for talking for a living.
Yeah, I know, but here we are. We are ready to go. We have 2 weeks of stuff to catch up on and chat about, so plenty going on that we can talk about. First and foremost, we've got to talk about our friends over at Raging Pro Wrestling, RPW. And we start off the show with an announcement that we had made last week through social media. But if you're just coming around to hearing it now, or if you're still looking to help us out, don't have an updated count. But we have a bet going with RPW founder and owner Rich Buchholz, who's been on the show a few times. He had bet that if we can sell a total of 700 tickets for the weekend, and that just counts as like reservations, you don't have to pay for them ahead of time. Just say, hey, I'm coming to one of the two shows next weekend, which would be RPW Destiny 4 and RPW Envision 3 Friday and Saturday night. If you put your reservation in saying, hey, we're coming, if we can sell 700 total tickets or 500 for night number 1 for Destiny 4, Rich Buchholz, who is a diehard Lions fan, will have to wear a cheese head when he attends the Packer-Lions game the very same Sunday, November 3rd. So if you want to see Rich have to wear a cheese head as a huge Lions fan, be sure to get your tickets. Tickets as low as $10 for general admission. It's basically buy one, get one free. Because at the door, those ticket prices go up. General admission becomes $20, so you might as well buy them in advance. Buy 2 for the price of 1 on the general admission tickets. And if we can get 500 tickets sold for Friday, or a total of 700 for the weekend, Rich is wearing a cheese head to the Packer-Lions game at Lambeau on November 3rd. So let's make that happen. Tickets are available at RPWProWrestling.com, the Raging Pro Wrestling social media pages. Look sharp in the Fox River Mall, and as well as out at Big Apple Pub and Grill in Manitowoc. So again, get your tickets in advance if you have any inclination of going, or you just want to see a Lions fan wear a cheese head. Be sure to buy your tickets in advance up through Friday evening. And also, we'll be in attendance. As of right now, I know for sure we'll be there Saturday. I believe we are going to be there Friday, unless schedules don't line up, which leads me to my next point of discussion, Dylan, is what we had been rooting for over the last couple weeks. And for me, it's simple as it's been high school football. It has been an absolute joy to continue to call high school football games. Had to do back-to-back nights a couple weeks ago. That is not as easy as it sounds. One of those nights was solo. Like I said, that's a lot of talking, even for me. So, but it's been an absolute treat to get to do it. Playoffs start this week. We have on the station that I work for, or stations that I work for, we have 3 games going over the weekend or over Friday night. So be sure to listen, as well as check out all the action across the state in the WIAA football playoffs. So that's my report. Dylan, what have you got for us?
I got a couple.
All right, I'm all yours.
First and foremost, I'm an NBA guy. I'm a basketball guy. Regular season started last night. couple really good games last night. Timberwolves at Lakers, phenomenal game. And then Knicks at Celtics. Not as much of a good game, but wow, what a performance by the Celtics. But tonight, the Bucks are currently playing the 76ers. It is Milwaukee Bucks season. Time to put those Brewer jerseys away. It's Bucks season.
Why you got to bring up that? Yeah, it's still too soon.
It's too soon for the Brewers fans, but at least we still have something to root for in Milwaukee.
Yeah, because it's
Go
sure
Bucks.
shit not gonna be college basketball.
Huh?
It's sure as shit not gonna be college basketball.
You know what? Speaking of college basketball, that leads me right into my second root for. And this might be the one and only time you hear me say this, so I want you to listen clearly. I'm rooting for a player on the Duke men's basketball team.
What?
Yeah. Those who don't know me know I am a diehard Tar Heel fan, on top of the Badgers, of course, but I'm a diehard Tar Heel fan. So I hate Duke with a passion, though I have a great respect for Mike Krzyzewski. That being said, Con Knippel, Wisconsin's latest Mr. Basketball, is currently a freshman at Duke. He started their first game. He finished with 17 points. He was, I believe, he had 5 threes in the first half, I think.
Now, this is a secret scrimmage yet. This isn't like official box score games because the opening day of games have not occurred yet.
It was their matchup against Lincoln.
Yes. So an exhibition doesn't count for anything, but yes.
It's still a Wisconsin basketball player doing well in college. You know, he had 5 threes and he had a monster poster dunk, which is impressive for a guy who's only 6'5". So, yeah, rooting for him.
I'm all for it.
I'd like to see the Wisconsin guys do well at the Division I level. You know, it's really early to make any predictions, and like you said, it's only an exhibition game. But you know, he played like a first-round draft pick. Played well on defense. His spacing was phenomenal. He's very good at finding those open shooting lanes. So I'm excited. I'm disappointed I have to watch Duke to see how he does, but at the same time, I can root for him.
You'll get over it quick.
I think I will. Yeah.
All right. Anything else you got for us on the root for scale?
Yeah. My last root for, I won't go into details right now because we're going to probably transition into our web stories, but I'm just going to leave it at this: the Milwaukee Does.
All right. Well, before we get to our Wisconsin web story of the week, do want to do our Tyler Hero Noogies of the week. And this one I'm going to go off with, and I'm going to be really careful how I say this because I don't want to upset any of the powers that be that listen or maybe don't listen or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, we have on this show a good relationship with the WIAA. They let us come to state basketball in Green Bay here for the girls' side. You know, it is the premier, or well, it's the only high school sporting organization, but it is a great high school sports organization most of the time. However, my noogie goes to them this week for their current handling of the Milwaukee public school system football teams. I don't know if you've seen this or not, Dylan, but there are 2 schools, I believe it's Milwaukee Bayview and Milwaukee Pulaski, who are currently, they were forced to forfeit their games for this season, as well as a 2-season postseason ban for the next 2 years. Where this came about was in their 2 conferences, Milwaukee City League. They have 2 divisions or 2 conferences, and they kind of do it how England does soccer with the Premier League and the Champions League, where the top school in the whatever division it is gets bumped up, and the bottom school in the top division gets moved down. So they switch. It's a paperwork thing, which the error occurred by as an administrative error through the Milwaukee public school system. So it's not even like the athletic director of the school messed up. But because they switched divisions or whatever, it technically is treated like a conference change, didn't get reported properly. And so the WIAA is implementing the 2-season postseason ban for the football team this year, as well, or for the next 2 years, as well as for Milwaukee Bayview. They would have been postseason eligible this year, but because they have to forfeit all their games, they are not. I get you have to have rules and that you have to enforce those rules. And if this is, within the bylaws, whatever, my problem with it becomes, you're punishing kids for an error that an adult made. And it had nothing to do with the school itself. It had nothing to do with, a competitive advantage or disadvantage that, I'm trying, I can't even really think of one, but where a coach, if the coach was doing something that they're not supposed to be doing, I know you technically can't recruit in high school sports, but if a coach was recruiting or something with a private school, public school situation, open enrollment, yada yada, then I could see hey, you have to do something here. But the fact of the matter is this was a victimless issue that was a clerical error by the Milwaukee public school system. Why are we going to punish potentially 3 grades worth of seniors with a postseason ban?
Yeah, that does seem a little hasty to make a decision like that so quick. Well, I shouldn't say quick, but they
just at all.
They dropped a hammer on these kids.
I think you can do there's got to be some sort of gray area where you can implement something against the school. I'm not saying you fine them either, because public school budgets are whatever they're not great.
Right.
So I'm not saying you fine them or whatever either, but there's got to be something you can do that doesn't involve taking games and whatnot away from kids either. Kids who had no say in the matter, kids who did nothing wrong. And for that matter, even the coaching staff who really did nothing wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But you're punishing children for the screw up of an adult within the Milwaukee Public School office. I can't get on board with that in any capacity. Other than, like I said, I understand rules are rules, but there's got to be something that can be done outside of taking that away.
Yeah, and I did see that. I did see there is some considerable backlash to that decision. So I believe I saw a petition already earlier today regarding this issue. So I'm going to guess that this is going to be looked at again. I hope it is. You and I were both multi-sport high school athletes, and I can definitely sympathize with these kids, especially the seniors who, you don't work hard for your freshman, sophomore, and junior year just for your senior year to not count. That would be absolutely devastating.
Well, and the thing that really kills me on it, and that I feel the worst for, football is the only sport in the state of Wisconsin you actually have to qualify for the postseason for.
Mm-hmm.
And I know in my time in high school, our school did not qualify for it once. We got close. We got close my senior year, where I think we were 1 game out, and on the bubble. But we didn't qualify, because the qualifications are if you have a over 500 record, you're in. I think if you have an over 500 record outright, you're in. If you have a 500 record or better in conference, you're in. Which we were 1 game short in both. Now there are teams who are 3 and 6 that do get in because they'd be 3 and 4 within their conference. We were 4 and 5, but we didn't have the we were like 3-4 in conference and whatever. But it is a hard sport to qualify for, no matter the fact that you actually do have to qualify takes it another step up of why I feel it's so wrong. It'd be one thing, and this is not disparaging against like basketball, but all the other sports actually. But if you had to qualify for basketball or baseball or whatever, insert other sanctioned sport, then yeah, it might be, it still sucks. But these kids, if they play other sports, they're going to be in the postseason. Like they're going to get a postseason. But to not get it in the one sport you have to qualify for when, I don't know if which sports has changed Milwaukee Bayview, but I'm pretty sure they were a lock to get in. Like they weren't even on the bubble. I'm pretty sure they were sitting at, I want to say 6-3 or 7-2. I don't have that firmly off the top of my head, but I know they were having a good year.
Yeah, it's so unfortunate. I hate to, I hate to think like this, and I guess it's different it's applicable to different kids and their situations, but at least, if you're a junior or a sophomore, at least this decision gives you time to maybe consider transferring out. But even then, like, I'm not a big fan of that, but at the same time, I get it. I don't think this is fair at all.
I believe they were 6-3 from how I can kind of read this. Wiz Sports did update it to show as they're actually, according to Wiz Sports, like 1-13, which obviously isn't correct. But I was trying to read it kind of going between the lines of the games that are 0-1 versus the ones that actually have the full score in them. Yeah, so regardless, though, they were having a good season, and it ends up getting ripped away on a technicality that, again, had nothing to do with the kids, nothing to do with the school. And I can't get on board with that.
I'd have to agree.
All right, well, that is my nuggie. Did you have one, Dylan?
I do have one, actually, and it's going to be somewhat related to Bucks basketball, only because they are playing the 76ers tonight.
Okay.
Mine is going to go to it's going to go to partially Joel Embiid and partially the 76ers organization.
You've got beef with Joel Embiid.
I do. I really do. He's a phenomenal basketball player. I hate the way he plays the game, but I guess his skill is undeniable. He's also famous for load management. Last year, he was actually ineligible for any regular season awards based on the NBA's new games played restrictions. If he was eligible, he probably would have won the MVP last year. And the fact that he just didn't because of load management is hilarious to me. And this season is proving to be no different. He is ruled out for not only tonight against the Bucks, but for games 2 and 3 against Toronto and Indiana, respectively.
Oh.
And the reason he is out is listed as left knee management. There is no specific injury designation beyond knee management. 76ers coach Nick Nurse has stated that Embiid has shown no setbacks during his offseason rehabilitation and is progressing well, but the team is taking a cautious approach to ensure his long-term health. Now,
Played in the Olympics, didn't he?
yeah. Yeah. And what's even funnier is the NBA is launching an investigation against the 76ers for this load management crap that they're pulling against Joel Embiid. He didn't play at all in the preseason, which is fine. That's common that your star players don't get a lot of minutes in the preseason. Giannis didn't play a whole lot. Dame did. But I'm just thinking about some other players that would be considering load management. Even this load management poster child, Kawhi Leonard, was getting a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just hilarious to me that they start off the season, literally games 1 through 3, and he's sitting just as a precautionary measure.
And who do they play? It's the Bucks tonight, and who are the other two?
Bucks tonight, and then game 2 is against Toronto, and game 3 is against Indiana. So, I mean, these are good games.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I was asking, because
these aren't just we're gonna play.
The Raptors aren't great, but the Bucks and the Pacers both are.
Yeah, I find it hilarious, and to the point where the NBA is launching an investigation against them already. Literally, they haven't even played their first game yet. They're playing it right now, and they already have a load management investigation. It's hilarious to me. So I can't give it to Joel Embiid entirely, because obviously this is a decision probably between him and someone in administration and the medical staff, but just all around, all of them, one big noogie.
I can get on board with that. That is
great.
That's a hell of a I'm gonna leave it at that. That's so stupid.
Yeah, it is stupid, but it'd be different if he was actually he tweaked something while he was playing in the Olympics. No, just left knee management.
Well, and the other thing is, I mean, this is a premier game. Like, this is on ESPN tonight. I'm watching it as we speak. I have it on TV behind you, essentially. But this is a premier game, and yeah, it's fine if you get periodic rest, but this is a big marquee game that you remember when like this all really started, and I'm going back even before Kawhi Leonard and the Spurs, but there was a point, I want to say it was like 2012 or 20, maybe even after that, maybe like 2014, but where Carmelo Anthony was still with the Knicks, and he was banged up, and he was sitting out. And I think the Knicks were hosting the All-Star game that year, and they also had a game. They had an overseas game. I think the Bucks were playing in. And needless to say, like he sat out for like 2-3 weeks. He played like a handful of minutes against the Bucks in that regular season game. He played the All-Star game, and then he shut down for the season. Like, this is worse, I think, than that, because it was so obvious, at least with the Knicks and them were doing it. They were doing it for the marquee game overseas with the Bucks, and they were doing it for the All-Star game. And I don't think the Knicks were overly relevant at that point either. But yeah, this is something stupid.
Yeah. I got nothing. It's so stupid.
Yeah, it's I can't wrap my mind around, like, it's opening night of the NBA season.
Yeah, you'd think you'd want to be playing.
Right. And if I'm there, are they? And I should know this because I've been watching it, but I forgot because it's halftime right now. And they haven't really shown anything. It's been showing a lot of other ESPN stuff. Actually, no, they're in Philadelphia on top of it.
Yeah, they're in Philly.
This is a home game for them.
It's a season opener.
Yeah. Yeah, this is up there with all-time level stupid. I'm going to say.
Yeah, it's silly. It's legitimately it's just silly.
All right. Well, let's move on.
Doesn't help that I just have perennial beef with Joel Embiid, but
that's fine. We all have to have our people out there that we just have disdain for.
Yeah, like you and Tiago Splitter.
Tiago Splitter. Steph Curry, to his credit, just graduated from my list. I don't know exactly when it happened, but it's been pretty recent.
Well, that's good. He was never on my list.
I still will maintain I think he was bad for youth basketball as a whole. But
youth basketball, yes.
It's not his fault.
No.
But that's neither here nor there. Right? Like I said, I still got a little bit of beef, but it's not like the on-site hatred of like a Yadier Molina was for me, or basically any St. Louis Cardinal in baseball. Peyton Manning was on that list for a long time too.
Really? Peyton Manning. That's interesting.
I didn't like Peyton Manning. I thought he was a whiny bitch, if I'm being honest. And I took great pleasure in watching Tom Brady kick his ass in the playoffs every single turn, with the exception of like 2 years.
Okay.
It gave me great pleasure to watch that happen.
Wow. Okay.
Let's see. I'm trying to think of Tiago Splitter is one of them too.
Yep, on site.
Tyler Hero is, and Kevin King. Tyler Hero, Kevin King. And Kevin King, I mean, Tyler Hero, I don't really have a great reason for, other than the fact that he just looks like a dweeb. That's what we named
he
the year after him. He's spurned the Badgers.
Yeah, that's my reason
for that. But he spurned the Badgers. He's been a douche since then. He just looks like a dweeb.
I get it.
Beef with him. Who's the other one I said? Oh yeah, Kevin King. Well, we all know about my long-standing issues with him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's really about it. I don't think I have too many just wake up angry type things. If I develop more, we'll be sure to keep updated because I'm not quiet about those either.
Yeah, we'll keep expanding the list. List will be updated weekly.
Yeah,
we might get next week.
It'll probably get updated throughout the show, if we're being honest. I mean, I'm sure I'll think of a couple more, but
yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, if you currently or have ever played for the St. Louis Cardinals in a big moment, on the list. Yeah. Jesse Winker is probably now on the list, but it's funny that they finally have lost and broke the Brewers curse, which before we get to our Wisconsin website, I do got to talk about this now just because we'll make it real quick. But if this is not advice.
Great way to start.
I don't want to get sued. But I personally am putting this into existence where as soon as the 2025 MLB Futures bets open, whenever that is, I think it's December, end of November, whenever, I would sincerely consider, if you're able to, and you're not going through like gambling addiction, which there is help out there for that. There's all the little quick fast talk and on bottom commercials, fine print. But if you can do so responsibly, and you want to, I am going to be putting money on the Brewers World Series appearance. So NL champions, yes. Possibility on the Brewers World Series chance as well, because the Brewers World Series, I guess the heartbreak curse, or the kind of like the good luck Chuck curse. You ever seen the movie Good Luck Chuck? It's finally been broken, where the team that always beat the Brewers in the postseason went on to the World Series. Now that's got a little bit of a caveat to it because in 1982 they went to the World Series. They lost the World Series to the Cardinals, which kind of goes more towards the other thing. But so 1982 is a little bit of a caveat, but they did still win the World Series because of being the Brewers. But this is the first time of the Brewers' franchise playoff appearances where the team that beat them in the postseason, eliminated the Brewers, is not going to the World Series. Because Dodgers beat the Mets and will be starting the World Series against the Yankees on Friday. So to me, that curse is broken. And against, see, the Dodgers have been kind of one of those teams where the Milwaukee could never get over the hump because of them in a lot of ways. Like they eliminated us in 2018, the NLCS Game 7. They swept us in 2020 in the COVID playoffs in a 3-game set that didn't really count, but does. So the Dodgers have kind of been one of those bugaboo teams as of late.
Mm-hmm.
And that in mind, for them to be the ones that essentially break this curse, I think is all lining up with the stars. Catch my drift here. So I've got a feeling, a hunch, if you will, that the Brewers World Series odds could be a potential good bet if you are able to responsibly, legally do so with money that you can afford to put aside for said hobby. I think that covers my bases of not getting sued.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I am going to also say out there, if you are listening to this and are having some problem gambling and whatnot, your best bet is to sue somebody else who is actually making money with their product, and not this show. There are better corporations out there to do that to than this one. Because if you sue us, it will not be worth your while.
Right.
That's not like a legal threat. Like, we don't have lawyers or anything backed up with that. That's just it's not going to be worth your time to do so.
It's going to cost you more money to sue us than you would get just by suing us.
Right. And so, don't. Please. Pretty please, I guess. But do it to somebody else if you have to.
Yeah, sue the 76ers.
Yeah.
They got money.
Or the Yankees. Sue the Yankees. Sue the Dodgers. Yeah. Sue the Dodgers for making me think this. And then sue them all. And then sue whoever eliminates the Brewers next year if the curse continues. But don't sue this show, because again, it is not worth anybody's time. It is not going to net you anything.
No.
Yeah, so that is my disclaimer with that. Wisconsin Web Story of the Week. We do have 2 quick ones. The first one I'm going to do, Dylan's got another one geared up for us. His is probably better, but I'm going to give a shout out to the fellows at Door County Daily News, which is part of the new radio sports network that I call high school football games and baseball, basketball, you name it. I've probably called a sport for it. But they had made, and specifically my friend and coworker Tim Coles made an appearance on 60 Minutes this weekend in the story regarding how the presidential election winner has, since 2000, always won Door County. And kind of the joke that came out of that brief interaction with 60 Minutes was on the stations of the Door County Daily News Network. They did a APB putting out there if you had voted, I guess, correctly with all of the presidential elections since 2000. So if you voted Bush in 2000, 2004, if you voted Obama 08 and 12, Trump in 16, and Biden in 20, that 60 Minutes wanted to get a hold of you.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, no one came to that because very few people are, that way about it. But I did want to get a quick shout to a studio I've spent some time in and some people I work with up in Door County, getting the 60 Minutes nod. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Dylan, your Wisconsin web story.
Yeah, so we're going to kind of go back to what I was rooting for earlier. The Milwaukee Does. So, excuse me. This story comes from the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel today. The Milwaukee Bucks ownership group, or a Milwaukee Bucks ownership group, submits a bid for WNBA expansion team. As we know, the WNBA is experiencing what I would call rapid growth due to certain factors that we will not elaborate into right now. Game clerk. So they're looking at expanding some teams, which I think is great. They want to expand. They want to get some more cities involved. More teams the better. It's my opinion.
I would wholeheartedly agree.
And for those who don't know, Milwaukee used to have that women's professional basketball team, not the WNBA, in the women's professional basketball league. Very short stint. That league folded in 1980, so it's been a while. But with this resurgence of popularity in the game, the WNBA is taking proposals from multiple cities. Milwaukee among them. It includes Philadelphia, Austin, Kansas City, Miami, Central Florida, Nashville, Charlotte, Denver, and potentially Cleveland. Team officials... Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Team officials did not elaborate on the bid, so we don't know the logistics of it. There's no timeline for the WNBA to make a decision. I don't believe in this article, it doesn't say how many bids they're going to accept. So they might just be accepting one. They might be looking for 3, 4, 15. I don't know. Wisconsin kind of already has I guess you could call it professional basketball team in the Glow, Wisconsin Glow.
I believe they are not playing anymore.
I guess I haven't heard anything about the Glow being disbanded, but I know there was a lot of that talk about getting rid of the Oshkosh Arena and the Herd and all that stuff. But if the Glow are going away, then this presents an opportunity for women's basketball to continue in the state of Wisconsin. Women's professional basketball, I should say, to continue in the state of Wisconsin. So,
from their social media, it does not appear that they had a 2024 season.
Well,
if I'm not mistaken, I believe most of the teams in that league folded.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hold on. So this came. Just keep talking.
Yeah. So the article continues to go into prominent figures calling for the team to consider the franchise. Specifically, Green Bay Packer legend and Pro Football Hall of Famer Leroy Butler. He is on record saying to this article, "I want to explore getting some investors together. I'll be either a minority or majority owner," Butler said in 22. "If I had the money, I'd do it myself, but these kind of things need to be done with a financial group, and it has to be put together the right way." Milwaukee native and Dallas Wings star point guard Arike Ogunbowale has also spoken out in favor of Milwaukee getting a professional women's basketball team. So, it's gaining ground.
Okay, so just real quick, the Wisconsin Glow, the league that they had played in, folded. They were going to join a different league, but I believe so. They were supposed to make a debut in the Independent Professional Women's Basketball League, but I don't show anything about that since this story came out.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, I would wholeheartedly agree. First of all, I think if the WNBA, which, correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't want to, I'm not trying to be that way, but it is still like an equal entity with the NBA. Is that correct? Like the NBA, like funnels to them basically.
Basically, yeah.
Okay, so with that in mind, the NBA and the WNBA should be able to make this decision, I would say, pretty easily. I think they can look at these plans and, the cities you mentioned, most of them currently have an NBA franchise.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple things I would want to throw out there. First and foremost, I think there is an interesting path that we could see here. That I think a lot of these cities should have WNBA teams. I think it's growing, and I think that these cities need to continue to embrace it. And
Mm-hmm.
if you can get the funding for it to work, I'm all for it.
Mm-hmm.
This will be our second European soccer mention, but over in Europe, we see a lot of like Manchester United has a men and women's team. And I think all those Premier League and club or Champions League teams, they all have that, and I'm pretty sure it's very similar on the basketball side of things too. And for that
Mm-hmm.
matter, I think a lot of those like programs have soccer and basketball programs. Do you think we could get to a point of like having Milwaukee Basketball Club, or do you think the branding in the NBA is too strong to make that happen?
I think the branding of the NBA is just too strong.
Or could you see like a Milwaukee Bucks, like women's league team? Like and I don't want to, because I don't want to take away from like, we just saw a phenomenal WNBA championship decided over the weekend with New York Liberty.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to take away from their branding because they do have good branding. Their team names, like the Sparks, the Lynx, you do have that. But could we see that potentially be a way to kind of keep the leagues together in that capacity? Do you think that's a possibility, or do you think it's best if they keep them separate, like how it currently is?
I think they would prefer to keep it separate. Obviously, the WNBA doesn't make nearly as much revenue as the NBA does, but it's going up. Like it's coming. Women's basketball is where men's basketball was, before the days of Magic Johnson and Larry Bird.
Sure.
NBA, a lot of people don't realize the NBA was so close to failure before Magic and Bird came in the league.
Well, I mean, look at them since the merger, the ABA and the NBA. I mean,
yeah,
the movie Semi-Pro kind of pokes light at it with Jackie Moon, Will Ferrell as Jackie Moon, but that was a very realistic. The ABA was doing really well until it wasn't.
Yep. And what we're seeing right now is we're seeing that explosion in popularity. So I think you give it time for this league to develop. Let them develop into their own, and give it a decade, and it's going to be a very popular league. That's my opinion.
I wholeheartedly agree. I wouldn't be surprised, if we start seeing something to that effect of like a Milwaukee, like an all Milwaukee. I think that'd be kind of cool. I don't think that's the way to go about it right now, but I think that would be kind of cool. But I also do think that, like you said, that the boom that we're seeing with this league is going in the absolute right direction, and that there's only more stars coming. I mean, Paige Beckers will be in the NBA or WNBA next year. I wouldn't be surprised if the WNBA has to get to a point of changing how their draft process works, because right now you have to be in college for 4 years. So I would not be surprised to see if that ends up changing, because there's another superstar out in USC who will be a sophomore this year, in Juju Watkins, who was a unanimous preseason All-American. And again, I think this expansion is only going to be great for, the college game is continuing to boom. More teams means more players going pro and more money coming in, so that that they don't have to necessarily maybe go overseas half the year to make their money. We're going to see the Green Bays of the world, who are these mid-major powers, be sending more players to the league. You're going to see, right now the WNBA draft, if you're not a first-round pick, you're usually pretty screwed. And they have 4 rounds of drafts. So you'll get a couple here and there that end up breaking that mold. Nika Mule comes to mind from Seattle, who went to UConn before she got hurt. But she comes to mind. But yeah, we're going to start seeing that a lot more. And having those second, third, fourth rounds matter, and that's exciting.
But yeah, I'm hoping Milwaukee gets a successful bid, and see what happens.
Yeah, and you know what? Like I said, I think the time frame that the WNBA plays in, like the season, there is definitely a kind of a craving for it. I mean, you look at, Brewers baseball during the summer is important, but during the timeline of where the WNBA season plays most of its games outside of an Olympic year, absolutely, this would be a prime time to get into the state of Wisconsin, have a statewide team that would be, I think, would function really well in Milwaukee. I'm curious if they would play at Fiserv as well, or if they'd go to one of the smaller Panther Arena, where obviously UW Milwaukee plays. I don't think they'd probably go down to the Klotchke Center, which is where UW Milwaukee women's play. But I think you could very realistically get, however full the Panther Arena is, which used to be the Mecca, and have a very good draw to that stadium to start.
I would think that they will play at Fiserv. I would hope that they would. It only makes sense that they would.
Well, hear me out. So Panther Arena, which is right next to the Fiserv, holds 12,700 tickets. And like I said, it used to be the Mecca. That's where the Mecca was. Fiserv Forum capacity is at 17,800 for basketball. So I think you could have even be kind of like a fluid situation. Where when you get those bigger draw games, those end up being at Fiserv. If it's, or I would hope, it'd be great if you had Fiserv where that was full every, however many WNBA games there are at home. But I think you have Panther Arena as a very, very good backup option without having to go to the Klotchke Center on campus.
Yeah. I think it would be better for them to keep, because obviously the Milwaukee Does, they're pretty much, they're almost equal, so it would just be so much easier for the brand. I think it'd be a lot easier for the team to succeed. I don't want to say they have to piggyback off the Bucks, But I'm just saying, I think they would have a better chance of success as a new team in the league if they would kind of ride on the coattails a little bit.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that. Yeah, I mean, obviously the Al McGuire Center and the Klotchke Center significantly smaller, by the way. The Klotchke Center holds 3,500. The Al McGuire, the Marquette Women Play holds 4,000. So those really aren't options, I don't think. But yeah, I would definitely. I think one or the other. I think if you market it more like the Mecca as opposed to Panther Arena, you could probably make that a good sell. I mean, it's not really that huge of a jump from 18,000 versus the 12 and change that Mecca holds, but yeah, I definitely agree. Wisconsin or Milwaukee Does. I know you keep saying that. That is not official. I want to make clear to the listening audience. That's
no. That's just what they were back in the women's professional basketball league, and I would assume that they would.
I thought they were previously actually the Milwaukee Does. I thought you were just trying to be funny.
No, they were actually the Milwaukee Does. That's what the team used to be. It was actually the Milwaukee Does, and I think it'd be really cool to bring that back. You know, ever since I've seen the story, you know, floating around social media, they've been posting the old like logos and stuff, and it's really cool to see those old retro logos and see concept art of how they would be updated for, you know, 45 years later.
You know what? I'm on board with it. I can't really think of a better name. Because I think one of the cooler things that we're kind of seeing is a lot of the times we do see some sort of tie-in with both city names.
Well, it's like the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Minnesota Lynx.
Exactly. That's exactly the first one I thought of.
Yep.
You know, New York's a little bit of a different one, but like you see the Liberty out there, the Las Vegas Aces.
Yep.
I really can't think of a different Milwaukee one other than Does. When the Bucks G League team with the Herd, I mean, that makes sense. I really kind of wish I would have gone with the Fawns. I think that would have been kind of cool.
I think Herd's better than Fawns.
It's better, but I think it would have been funnier.
You don't have to like it, right?
Yeah, it would have been like, could you imagine if this was kind of going in reverse? If you had the Milwaukee Bucks, Milwaukee Does, and then we're getting a G League team up in Oshkosh. It's gonna be the Wisconsin Fawns. It'd be awesome.
You got to do something related to deer because, like you said, we have the Herd, we have the Bucks. Does only makes sense. Bringing back the Does. I'm starting that movement right now. Bring back the Does.
I'm on board with it. I'm down.
But yeah, that's the web story I had for the week.
All right. Well, let's move on back to the world of sports. Or I guess staying with the world of sports because this one was actually pretty sports based. As mentioned before the Wisconsin web story, World Series gets underway this week. Brewers' curse is gone. Hopefully, I feel pretty confident in that. I don't know why, but I do. I will be actually watching this World Series as much as I don't want to. But I also think this is one where if you're a baseball fan or if you've been on the fence about baseball, this is going to be the perfect World Series, the perfect time for the MLB.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to go into the whole, oh yeah, the league's fixed, they got the perfect match. I'm not going to do that shit. But I am going to say, if that was a thing, this would be the perfect matchup. You get your two biggest markets with your two most iconic franchises of those markets.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like we're talking about the Mets and the Angels. We're talking Dodgers, Yankees.
Yep.
With so many great players of this generation, a couple all-time greats in this game as well, or in this series as well. This one has that potential Dylan, I'm going to ask you to put this in perspective. 2009 or 2008, NBA, after years of not having this rivalry in the championship, we saw an NBA Finals of Celtics Lakers. Totally different players, totally different, coaches, everything like that. What did that NBA Finals mean to the WNBA, or not to the WNBA, but to the regular NBA at that time?
It was huge. That is the biggest rivalry in the history of basketball, going back decades, literally to the beginning. And to see that matchup in the finals is a basketball fan's wet dream, to put it in perspective.
So you're getting that now in the baseball world with this World Series, where you have all-time greats. You have, again, just two of the, you see a person, like how many people wear like a Dodgers or Yankees hat and don't even realize it?
Mm-hmm.
Two of the most iconic brands in sports. In sports as a whole, not even talking just baseball, but two of the most iconic brands in sports in the World Series with Shohei Ohtani, who is probably the closest thing to Babe Ruth that we'll have in this lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Pitcher, I mean, he's not pitching this year because he had Tommy John surgery, but pitcher, DH, MVP, and Cy Young candidate both. You have Mookie Betts, who is a generational talent. You have Aaron Judge, another generational talent who is trying to cement his status as a potential all-time great. You have Giancarlo Stanton kind of in that same mix. Juan Soto, one of the young superstars of the game, who's already got a ring, got one with Washington. But kind of in that same, he's looking for his second. And yeah, there's pitchers like Garrett Cole, who, I mean, I think he's a douchebag, but Garrett Cole, who his big thing was he hasn't gotten one. Actually, he hasn't got one outside of Houston, which that whole thing is mired in controversy. So Garrett Cole going for a World Series ring, or another World Series ring. Did he get one with that? I think he did. Yes, he. Oh, he didn't. He wasn't with the Astros when they won? Apparently? Yeah, I don't show a World Series champion. Well, this is going to bother me. Hold on.
Hold, please.
Well, I'll be darned. He was not with the Astros when they won.
Learn something new every day.
I could have swore. Okay, yeah, 2018 they didn't. Who won in 2019? Oh yeah, they lost to the Nationals. So he's made the World Series once, did not win. They lost to the Juan Soto Nationals. That was going to bug the hell out of me.
No, it doesn't have to.
Yeah. So anyway, Garrett Cole looking for a ring. A generational pitcher. So pretty exciting on that capacity. So I'll be watching. I don't really have a rooting interest in this one. If I had to pick somebody, I'd probably say the Dodgers.
I think I'm right there with you.
I think the Shohei effect is enough to swing it just enough. Just what he does for the game of baseball, and the fact that he's finally getting to do so and play for a World Series now, where he didn't when he was with the Angels across town.
Mm-hmm.
Him and Mike Trout were teammates, and the first time a lot of people actually got to see him play in a big moment was the World Baseball Classic, where he struck out Mike Trout to actually end the World Baseball Classic last year. Yeah, 2023. So, yeah, very, very exciting in the baseball front. Bucks currently go into the fourth quarter up almost 20. The Bucks are doing well tonight. Their season
Yeah.
great, like we talked about earlier. Their season starts tonight. The Wisconsin Badgers have played pretty damn well as of late, Dylan. Since we last talked, the Badgers have gone on a bit of a winning streak. It's officially a winning streak. They've won 3 in a row. Their record is at 5-2 on the season. They've taken down, which I think last time we talked was coming off the Purdue win. Since then, they went on to beat Rutgers 42-7 in a game that they were actually a 1-point underdog going into that game. And then they took down Northwestern on both those games on the road. Rutgers and Northwestern, they took down 23-3 this past weekend. Braden Locke, I really think he's in fuck it mode. I don't know if he's if he's just playing that well or if he's just really got a grasp of the offense, because this Badgers team this last 3 weeks has been night and day different from what we saw the first 3-4 weeks as well. They've really kind of finally hit that air raid style offense of spreading the ball around, moving quick. Braden Locke in this last game, he was 14-24, 160 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Run game was pretty good. Taway Walker, 23 carries for $126. Darian Dupree, 11 carries for 40. They did have a jet sweep to Trech Kahuna, and a kind of a fullback move. 3 carries, 10 yards, but a touchdown for Cade Yakameli to score for the Badgers as well. But 23-3 win against Northwestern. And this weekend, we get to see if they're actually for real or not. They have a big game this weekend. At home, under the lights at Camp Randall against number 3 in the country, Penn State. This will be probably their best test so far. I mean, the Alabama game, say what you will about it. The USC game, they were with USC the first half. I think they still should have won that game. But that's really where the tide turned, was that USC game. But now you get an actual familiar Big Ten opponent. You get Penn State at home, under the lights on a nationally televised game at Camp Randall, against the undefeated Penn State Nittany Lions at a 6.5-point underdog. And I gotta be honest with you, Dylan, if there is going to be an upset on the schedule for them, and a party in Madison, this one has all the makings of that, doesn't it?
It does. They're hot right now. 6.5 does not seem to be objective. It does not seem like it's enough.
No, it doesn't. That's the problem with it. I mean, Penn State comes in the year. Their leading passer is 103 for 146, 1,492 yards, 11 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Their leading rusher. And as I'm looking at this, Dylan, I'm actually going to talk myself more into the Badgers, because Penn State is at 6-0. So they've had their bye week as well. But their quarterback has 10 more passes than Braden Locke does, who came in relief in the first quarter of that Bama game. So 2 games in, really. 2 full games difference. But has 10 more passes and only like 350 yards, or it is almost 400 full yards more. So basically 1 or 2 games, which adds out if we're kind of averaging. Wisconsin's leading running back, Taway Walker, has more yards on more carries, so he does have almost double the carries that Penn State's leading back, Nick Singleton, does. But in terms of just kind of looking leader for leader, kind of talking myself into it. Penn State, for their season so far, they knocked off West Virginia, they knocked off Bowling Green and Kent State. They've beaten Illinois. They've beaten UCLA. Their signature win to this point did come 2 weeks ago at this point, so they're coming off their bye week, where they took down an unranked at the time, very key important here, an unranked USC team that I would say Wisconsin was better than the day they played, but the second half stalled out, which is it's important. That goes into it as well. But they took this USC team to overtime, winning 33-30. So a pretty close game there that I think Wisconsin played with them close as well. And with as much parity and with as many upsets as we've seen across the country in college football the last couple of weeks, Bama's lost twice in a row.
Yeah.
Texas got beat by Georgia, which some people call it upset, some won't. It was 1-5, so it wasn't like a true upset, but we have seen a number of upsets to these top-ranked teams. This one's on the road. It has that recipe for it.
I think there's potential.
Now, again, in the state of Wisconsin, first of all, you can't bet on college sports. I don't think I would put money on this one, personally. However, if you are in a state where it is legal to bet on college sports, this one's kind of got a nice ring to it. Badgers are plus 200. So they're not that overwhelmingly underdogs. So you put down $10, you get back 20 plus the 10 you put down. I'm just saying.
It's there.
They're dogs. They're dogs. They're not huge underdogs, though.
No. It'd be a risk, but it's not like a major risk.
It wouldn't be stupid. It wouldn't be like the worst game you could bet on this week.
Right.
Like, it's not like we're sitting here talking about, oh, I don't know, let me look across the rest of the college football in the Big Ten. So even in the Big Ten games this week, if we're talking just Big Ten, Washington, Indiana, Washington's a bigger dog. Oregon, Illinois. Illinois, who comes into that game ranked 20th, is a plus 900 dog.
Ooh.
Iowa, Northwestern plus 425. A couple of these games don't have full odds on them yet, or money lines on them. Michigan State versus Michigan. Michigan State's plus 150. Maryland, Minnesota. Maryland plus 155. Like, there are games out there that are further apart. But there's also games like the furthest odds in the Big Ten this weekend, Ohio State, Nebraska, which this would be stupid. But Nebraska's plus 1,800. Like, you have worse games to choose from.
Oh, yeah.
Than a Bucks or a Badger upset of Penn State. And a team that, under the Luke Fickell era, is needing a signature win.
This would be it.
This would be it. I have that feeling. It'll probably be wrong. I'm going to go on record. I'll probably be wrong. But
there's nothing wrong with being an optimistic fan.
That's right. This would be one of those games. Because if you look at the schedule, they've got Iowa the following week, which probably 50-50. They do have number 1 ranked Oregon at home, but I've seen Oregon play a few times now. That one's not happening.
I wouldn't bet on Wisconsin for that one.
I can be optimistic, but also realistic. That game, not happening.
No.
Nebraska, who kind of has come back down to earth a little bit. That one's in Lincoln. And then you've got the battle for the axe on Black Friday at home against Minnesota. So to be bowl eligible, you have to win at least one of these next 5 to guarantee continuing your winning season. You need to win 2 of those next 5, or the bowl game. But I don't foresee them losing Probably 2. I think they split this and go 3-2. I mean, I do think that Penn State probably will win. But if we're going chalk here, Penn State wins. Iowa, Wisconsin, that's 50-50. I feel like Wisconsin's kind of due for one on them.
Mm-hmm.
You're definitely losing to Oregon, barring like a plane crash or something.
Yeah, knock on wood.
But then Nebraska, Minnesota, you can very well win both of those. I hope that your 2 wins don't come out of that you would need. But again, this Penn State game's got something on it. I just have flashbacks to 2010 with the David Gilreath game, where Gilreath opened the game, took the kick to the house against Ohio State, and then it became the J.J. Watt game because J.J. Watt had like 5 sacks that game or something like that. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's not it, but had like 3 or 4 sacks in the game, and the Badgers took down number 1 Ohio State at that point. This one has all the makings of that. So just something to watch Saturday night, 6:30. You're going to be sitting by your TV.
I agree.
All right, Dylan. From one football team to another, we look at the Green Bay Packers, who have also been on a winning streak as well. They have won 3 straight. 2 of those rather convincingly, despite what the score said, and a nail-biter against Houston. But since we last talked, Packers had a 34-13 win against the Arizona Cardinals and now a 24-22 win against Houston. So 3 in a row going against the Jaguars. But before we move forward, we do want to look back quick. Your thoughts on the last 2 weeks, but the last 3?
It's been good. It's it's nice to watch them firing on all cylinders. Because in this beginning of the season when Love was out, obviously they had to play a different game, which is it's totally to be expected. When you have your backup quarterback in, you're just not going to play the same as you do when you have your starter in.
Absolutely.
But now he's back. He's healthy. He's moving around pretty well. He's moving around really well, all things considered. I think in my opinion, I think he's being slightly too aggressive. He's playing with a little Brett Favre in him, where he's just screw it, someone's down there, I'm just going to throw it kind of thing. This might work, this might not work, let's find out. Rather than playing like vintage Aaron Rodgers, where he just will not throw the ball away. That was kind of one of Love's upsides, and now he's kind of he's getting a little more risky, which I don't necessarily care for, but he's a better quarterback than I am, so I'm not going to criticize him too much on that. So,
see, I'll say this. I wrote this today, actually, and something that should come out tomorrow or Friday for Lombardi Ave powered by Fansided. We were spoiled by Aaron Rodgers.
We really were.
Because across Aaron Rodgers' career, he had a total of 5 seasons where he threw 8 or more interceptions. He had 3 where he threw double-digit interception totals. This season probably will be another one, but regardless, he had 3 where he had double-digit interceptions. Now, I compared that when I looked this up, and I didn't write this in the article because it didn't really fit, but I looked this up. The amount of seasons Tom Brady or Peyton Manning had double-digit interceptions totally trumps the amount of interceptions that, he's very much on pace he had, like, Tom Brady had seasons of 12, 14, 12, 14, 14, 12, 13, 12, 11. There's a couple single-digit ones mixed in here, but even as
Mm-hmm.
he kind of went on that second all-time run, 2018, 11, 2020, 12, 2021, 12. Like, there's some high numbers in there. And still, I mean, he's probably undisputably the all-time great.
Mm-hmm.
Peyton Manning, kind of that same conversation with his career. Peyton Manning career,
Mm-hmm.
his interception totals. As a starter, he had 28 as a rookie, 15, 15, 23, 19, 10, 10, 9, 14,
Mm-hmm.
12, 16, 17, 11, 10, 15. 2 seasons, I think I said, maybe one season where he had single-digit interception totals.
Right,
So,
and these are players that are considered all-time greats.
right. So I don't. Obviously, you don't want your quarterback turning over the ball. You don't want to give free possessions to your opponent.
Mm-hmm.
But when we compare him to Aaron Rodgers, coming off of Aaron Rodgers, like, the dude was an all-time great, or is an all-time great still, about not turning the ball over
Mm-hmm.
and taking the sack or throwing it away and letting his completion percentage hit for an incompletion on a throwaway.
Mm-hmm.
That is rare. Like, you don't see that at all. Patrick Mahomes, if we're looking at Patrick Mahomes, I didn't look at his career stats, but Patrick Mahomes is tied with Jordan Love this season with 8 interceptions, but only has 6 touchdowns. Jordan Love has 15, and he missed 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Mahomes, for his career, threw 14 interceptions last year, 12 in 2022, 13 in 2021. His lowest he had as a full season starter was 6, or he had 5 actually, excuse me, in 2019. 12 and
Mm-hmm.
2019. So even Patrick Mahomes, who is kind of, he's kind of this current generation's target,
Yep.
is throwing double-digit interception. Like, this isn't a bad thing. As long as he's not, like, going Jameis Winston mode, who couldn't see, he throws 30 touchdowns with 30 interceptions. Like,
Right.
good outweighs the bad. And Jordan Love, I mean, he has the confidence. He has one of the best arms in the league. And you can see that. I mean, you can see that in the touchdown throw he threw to Tucker Kraft, where that was Brett Favre incarnate, where he says, fuck it, I'm going to throw
Yeah.
it harder than you can get there quicker.
Yes.
But then on that last drive, yeah, we had a scare on the first play of that final drive. But to go down and get the win against Houston, get your team into field goal position by just methodically going down the field with a minute 44. Set up the game winner. I mean, that doesn't happen with, like, a Brett Favre gunslinger. Like, that's a kind of a lazy comparison. I mean, I've made it, and I think it's kind of fun, just because the picture of Love wearing the Favre jersey a few weeks back. But
Mm-hmm.
as long as it's not costing you games, I don't have a huge problem with it. I think Jordan Love is probably closer to Matthew Stafford than he is Brett Favre.
I would agree.
And Matthew Stafford, again, a generational quarterback who's on a lot of bad Lions teams. If we're looking at his interception numbers, 11 last year, 8 the year before, but that wasn't a complete season. He had a high of 17 in 2021. 2020, he had 10. 2019, he had 5. 2018, 11. 2017, 10. 16, 10. 15, 13. 2014, he had 12. 2013, he had 19. So, I mean, these numbers, like, this is exactly, like, that's in line with the
Mm-hmm.
modern quarterback. And it's not costing you too many games so far. Even the Minnesota game that they lost, Love had the 3 picks, but he also had them where they very well should have scored at least 6 more points.
Yes.
With
And you can't put
misfits.
that on him. But what do they have done had he not thrown those 3 picks.
Yeah. So it's not costing you games. Obviously, I would love to cut down on it. And, if he can finish the year somewhere around like 11, 12, that'd be great. Because right now he's throwing 1 per game, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Over 1 per game, technically. Actually, closer to almost 2 per game. But I don't have a huge problem with it.
No, as long as they keep winning and he reins himself in, I think we're going to be okay.
As long as, and really, I mean, in these games, outside of the Minnesota game, and I think even the Minnesota game, I think he had 4 touchdowns, but he had 4 versus 3. As long as he throws as many touchdowns, if not more, you're probably going to be okay.
Yeah. I mean, what it really boils down to is just throw more touchdowns than interceptions.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Simple as that.
You have 2 touchdowns, you throw 1 or 0 interceptions.
Yep.
You have 3, maybe 1. But so that's looking back. Now we look forward. Somehow the Jacksonville Jaguars got a win over in London against the Patriots.
That's because the Patriots are trash.
So are the Jaguars. Look, they are bad.
Well, one team has to win, one team has to lose.
That is true. Jaguars, they're bad. As simple as that. Green Bay goes in as a 4-point favorite on the road this Sunday. So, again, kind of doing the old-fashioned sports math, it's really like a 7-point favorite. That's probably where that game's going to be.
I would think so. I hope more, but...
I mean, nothing about the Jaguars really scares you. Trevor Lawrence is a talented, athletic quarterback, but he's not striking fear into the hearts of anybody.
I would call him mediocre at best.
He's athletic. I mean, he's a very talented athlete. He was great in college. He's shown flashes of greatness at the NFL level.
Right.
So I would say he's a very talented, but not great quarterback.
He's good enough to get the job done, but with this relentless defense that he's going to be facing, I don't see it happening.
No, and that's going to be the ultimate kind of deciding factor in this one, I think, where I think the Packers are going to get. I mean, they went a full game without forcing a turnover. They did not force one against Houston. They did not have an interception in now 2 weeks. I think that very much changes. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to throw at least 1, if not 2, this coming week. Which isn't a huge... I guess that's not a huge gamble, but I think it's kind of bound to happen.
I would agree.
So give me Trevor Lawrence throwing 1 or 2.
I'm going 2.
I wouldn't be surprised if he throws like 3 or 4 and might get benched. With how good and Jeff Hafley's defense is, and how well he has the team. So here's another thing, just a quick spoiler on something else I wrote today. You know who I think? I mean, we focus on Xavier McKinney, we focus on Jair Alexander, and people are starting to pay attention to Evan Williams, right?
Mm-hmm.
Evan Williams is proof positive that the Jeff Hafley scheme is working.
Mm-hmm.
And here's what I mean by that. First of all, Jeff Hafley's background is defensive backs. He is been a defensive backs coach in the NFL before. He's been one during his stints in college. Richard Sherman has gone on record saying when he was with San Francisco, where Hafley was the DB coach, that Hafley had him better prepared than any point he was with Seattle. He was more prepared to be in those games with San Francisco at the end of his career than he was at any point else in his pro football career. And I say all that to say that Evan Williams and a number of other players, I think Lucas Van Ness has been a very big piece of this as well. But Evan Williams just is always in the right spot, doing the right thing at the right time. He's staying with an assignment. I mean, this was very much on display in a very, I mean, it's such a nonchalant play. But 2 weeks ago, when he stopped that read option play with Kyler Murray, where he let Van Ness take the back, which is what you're supposed to do. The defensive end gets the back, and the downhill player, whether it be a linebacker, cornerback, safety, whatever, has the quarterback. You can kind of go vice versa on that, but in the NFL with read option, the back kind of gets the point of going up the middle, and the quarterback actually has the outside run. It's usually reversed in high school, so you kind of see that reverse the other way around. But regardless, Van Ness had his assignment. He stayed within it, as did then Evan Williams, and then just a perfect break. He just doesn't miss tackles. I mean, he buzzes.
He's fundamental.
He very fundamental. Buzzes the feet. He's in the right spot and shifts his weight perfectly. And this is on him as a player too. Like, this isn't just Jeff Halfley did all of this because he was good enough to be a 4th round pick.
Right.
But he does all those right things along the way. And he's in the right spot because he's schemed to be there as well.
And
it's a lot of see ball, get ball, but it's also a lot of coordinators putting you in the right position. Same thing we're seeing with why Xavier McKinney has 5 interceptions. Same thing we're seeing where really CJ Stroud had 88 passing yards.
Yeah, it was something disgusting like that.
And had a net total of 55 when you factor in the 4 sacks. So for that, like I said, for that sake, this halfway defense is working gangbusters as well. And I think Evan Williams is a very good show of that, but it's really across the board.
Yes, I would agree.
So with that said, Dylan, that does take us to our picks for the week. We'll go through these games pretty quickly. But picks for the week, Thursday Night Football, we've got Vikings-Rams out in L.A.
I'm going to go Vikings.
I am also going Vikings. I don't love this one because I could very much see the Rams getting a win at home on a short week. Especially they do get Cooper Kupp back as well. So their offense is kind of coming back together. But, yeah, give me the Vikings in this one. All right, going to Sunday, we've got Ravens-Browns.
Oh, that'd be the easiest pick in the history of picks. Obviously, the Ravens by about 100.
Yeah, pretty much. Ravens, especially now. Well, Browns might be better.
They might be better, but they're not going to be good enough.
They might be better. All right, next one we got Titans in Detroit.
Detroit, easy. Screw the Titans.
Cardinals-Dolphins.
Oh, that's going to be a tough
Now,
one.
I do want to add before you make your pick, I believe Tua is back this week.
Yes, that's exactly what I was just going to say. Mr. Concussion is back. Will he? I think the game's dependent on whether Tua has his 5th concussion of the year or not. Or not the year, of his career. Maybe of the year. I don't know. I think I'm going to go. If Tua plays, I'm going to go Dolphins. If not, I think they're going to lose.
I'm going to go Dolphins as well, with that same caveat where if he plays and stays in the game, I think their offense kind of finds its footing. This is such a bigger topic than this show, but any thoughts on him saying he's not going to wear a Guardian cap?
It's stupid. He should just wear it. Who cares?
I do want to defend this because the first thing I thought of was, at this point he's being stupid. Like, take your health into some consideration. But I believe there's a helmet that's out there that I think he might have now that basically has that same Guardian Cap technology within the actual helmet.
Mm-hmm.
Or if not, it's already better. So I will give him a slight benefit of doubt. Like, I feel like he's probably going to be top of mind on that. But, if I'm looking back at how he got his last one, you can't be stupid about how you run either. Like, you have to learn to fall, and you have to not put your head into somebody's chest, which if everybody's put your chest into, DeMar Hamlin's probably not that guy.
No, probably not.
But the fact that they weren't both throwing up gang signs is lucky. Anyway, next game on the noon slate, we have Jets Patriots.
Jets.
I'm also going Jets to no one's surprise.
Yeah, I think they get it figured out. Plus, the Patriots just suck. So,
Atlanta against the Buccaneers. So Tampa Bay at home.
I think I'm going to go with the Buccaneers.
I'm going Atlanta because I don't know who Baker Mayfield is going to throw the ball to.
That's a fair point.
No Chris Godwin. He had season-ending surgery. No Mike Evans for 2 to 3 weeks. So I'm going to go with the Falcons until we see it. All right, Colts, Texans.
I'm going to go with the Texans. I think that's a pretty easy one as well.
I'm also going Texans. I believe Jonathan Taylor is supposed to be back this week. I don't know who Indy is starting at quarterback. I think there's been a lot of talk about going to Joe Flacco. I don't think they're going that route yet, but the conversations are being had. Eagles, Bengals.
Oh, are the Bengals going to start figuring it out? Are the Eagles going to start figuring it out? My gut wants to say Philly. So I think I'm going to go with Philly.
I'm going to go Cincinnati here. This game's in Cincy. I think this is kind of one of those you got to have it type games for them. So I've got a feeling on them this week. Saints Chargers.
I think I'm going to go with the Saints.
I'm going with the Chargers on this one. They are a big favorite. Yeah.
Wait, didn't someone from the New Orleans just get hurt?
Well, Derek Carr's been hurt.
Yeah, maybe that's what I'm missing. Yeah, I'm flopping. I'm going Chargers. I forgot that he was hurt. I forgot that he was out.
Next one we've got Bills Seahawks. I'm going with the Bills in this one.
I think I'm going to go with the Bills as well.
Bears Commanders in a prime afternoon game matchup.
I hate to do this, and I know I said last time we did this that I'll never ever pick the Bears, but I think I got to go with the Bears. Well, no, Commanders are pretty hot too right now, though.
So Washington's at home, but they are underdogs in this one.
I think I got to go with the Bears. I got to root for the NFC North. All 4 teams making playoffs.
I'm going to go Washington. I think Caleb Williams, he's looked good his last few times out, but I think that kind of comes to an end here. I think they're going to finally come back to earth.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go Washington in this one. Probably the most disgusting game of the week. We've got Panthers Broncos.
Oh, what a game. What a disgusting game. Broncos. I'm going to go Broncos.
I'm also going Broncos. Another kind of disgusting game. Chiefs Raiders.
Chiefs.
I'm also going Chiefs. Sunday Night Football, we've got the Cowboys and 49ers.
Had San Francisco been tooled all the way, I would take them for sure. You would think at some point Dallas, with the payroll they have, they're going to get it figured out against a banged up San Francisco team. I think I'm going to take the Cowboys, unfortunately.
I'm going to go with the 49ers. I do find it concerning, and this is courtesy of a meme. This is not my brain going at work, but I also think it's hilarious that the healthiest receiver on the 49ers is a guy who got shot 2 months ago.
Yeah, I did see that.
Which very serious conversation, but also incredibly funny because it's also kind of true in terms of football injuries. So give me San Francisco. Something is very, very broken in Dallas, and I don't think that gets fixed this week on a primetime game.
I got to risk it and go with them.
Monday Night Football, we've got Giants Steelers.
Steelers.
I'm also going
they
Steelers.
Played so well last week.
Also going Steelers, and then the last game that we didn't pick yet, Packers Jaguars.
Packers. I think that's an easy one. Personally.
Also going Packers. All right. Well, the Bucks are seconds away from victory, so we'll give an official score before we sign off. But Ticket Smarter ticket of the week, Dylan. I gotta go with it. Down in Madison, Wisconsin, Camp Randall, Badgers, and Penn State. Get tickets for as low as, it looks like $89 on Ticket Smarter, but you get $10 off your order with code ROOTS10, ROOTS number 10, $10 off that order. Exclusions and ticket fees may apply, but use code ROOTS10 for that ticket of the week. Bucks just went final. They get a 124-109 win. Dylan, what are you rooting for this week?
I am rooting for them to keep up their undefeated streak here, the Milwaukee Bucks, that is. Obviously rooting for the Packers. Be silly not to. I'm going to do my absolute best to tune in for this Badgers Penn State game. It's just a good week for Wisconsin sports.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. My root for the week, I'm going to go with the start of the Wisconsin high school football playoffs taking place Friday. I get to go to Plymouth, Wisconsin Friday night for Luxembourg Casco versus Plymouth. And then tomorrow night, the Wisconsin Green Bay or UW Green Bay men are in exhibition play against St. Norbert. So quick shout out to AJ Alexander, who is now an assistant coach at St. Norbert. I will do everything I can to be out there. So I do want to welcome him to his new position, and the start of the Doug Gottlieb era unofficially gets underway tomorrow with their first true scheduled exhibition game. I do say true scheduled because there was a quote-unquote secret scrimmage over the weekend in which Green Bay, I didn't get a score, but they beat Northern Illinois in that secret scrimmage or whatever. I'm told that Anthony Roy, who is one of the transfers in, who Coach Gottlieb told me personally in a Twitter DM, is going to lead the team in scoring this season and very well should be possibly the league scorer leading scorer in the Horizon League. From the indication and from the report, sounds like Anthony Roy had 32 points in that win against Northern Illinois secret scrimmage. So Phoenix on display starting tomorrow night against St. Norbert, and college hoops a little over a week away, where their first game, I believe, is set to be out at Oklahoma State, which coincidentally the game I believe was already worked out, but season gets officially underway against the Oklahoma State Cowboys in regular season play. Like I said, just a little over a couple weeks, November 4th. So under 2 weeks. So Phoenix basketball coming up. We've got men's basketball tomorrow night. The women not doing a formal exhibition. They will start their season, I believe, also on November 4th. Let me just double check that. Their season will start also on the road on November 4th with an 11 a.m. game against Kansas State. 13th ranked Kansas State. So going on the road to Manhattan, Kansas for a big non-conference game with the Kansas State Wildcats. So college basketball season almost here, getting underway, I guess unofficially, but officially tomorrow night. I will probably be there. Somebody else will probably be with me. But I'm very excited for that game. And really the sports across the weekend, like I said, we got Bucks, we've got Phoenix, we've got Badger football, Packer football, high school football around the state. So great time to be a sports fan here in the state of Wisconsin.
I agree wholeheartedly.
All right, for Shauna, Sean, Justin, and Ramsey who aren't here, I'm Eric. That's Dylan. Episode 162 is in the books. We're out. See ya.
See ya.